Good evening. My name is Eldana Shaw Davis, and I'm a student at Aspen University in the Doctorate of Education program with emphasis on organization leadership and learning. And tonight I'm going to do a presentation for my EDD 834 class, which is creating strategic change that lasts. And in this day and age, with change being a constant, it's kind of nice if you can look into how strategic change can last. And in this evening, I'm going to be giving a short presentation on 5 types of social power. I'm going to look at an analysis of the dominant type of social power in my organization. And I teach at Eastern Washington University in the College of Business. I teach organization behavior and organization leadership. And I'll talk a little bit about the off-dog concept, which was a principal part of this week's study, and again, something that David Consulo seemed to be quite enamored by. First of all, I want to talk about the 5 types of social power, and those are, they were originated by 2 psychologists, French and Raven. And Raven went on to do some further work on the types of social power. But initially, the social power was legitimate power. And if you have legitimate power, that's because of your job title or you've been appointed. Everyone knows by your title that you have authority. So that is a strong source of social power. Coercive power. That one is not exactly my favorite, but it is a very authoritarian type of style that you can really order people to do something or punish them if they don't, and you could do that for anything. And unfortunately, there have been some leaders in past history that have been very prone to use their coercive power. The third one is reward power, and that means you can give rewards and you can take them away. The fourth type of power, expert power, means that people come to you because they know you know the answers based on your expertise, your skill, your knowledge. And then the last one is referent power, and that's the ability to influence people. And typically, people who have that type of social power, they are good communicators, and they have the ability to connect with people. Now, it looks like about 5 or 6 years later, Bertram Raven, joined with 4 other associates, and they did some research on the basis of social power, leadership styles, and organizational commitment. Now, leadership styles, there's 3 basic ones. There is authoritarian, which I did mention. There is democratic or participatory. And the third one is in one of the authors for this class talked about it as being delegative, or I've also heard it termed as laissez-faire, where you pretty much let others make the decisions for you. So those 3 styles that they looked at. Well, the interesting thing I found is that in this article they actually added a 6th form of social power, and that's information. And I think that's probably because of the difference in the timing of the original work by French and Raven, and then this particular article. And what they did find is, with these 6 forms of social power, they found that the top 3 were what they referred to as harsh basis of power, and the other 3, the referent, the expert, and informational, were more the soft basis of power. And quite honestly, their research kind of confirmed something that I would have probably thought is just pretty much so, that the harsher, hard forms of basis of authority were the ones that people may respond to because they have to, but it's not because they want to. The softer basis of social power are where people choose to want to follow. And those, I think, are the most effective leaders. And at the end of their research, they discovered that those people with those heavy social power skills in the softer area, the referent, the informational, and the expert, were typically the ones who could be the transformational leaders and um, the charismatic leaders, the ones who truly are the influencers. But I think people have to be very careful with charismatic leadership because history has shown that there are some people that have taken that in a bad direction. So, analysis of the dominant type of social power in my work setting, I would say, because it's academic, that it's more the expert power and referent power. It's also informational. I used in one of my papers that was a discussion post, I talked about our new dean who is young, and he hasn't been a part of the business school. In fact, that's not his major study. He's been a social scientist, and he is now, I think, probably maybe around age 42. He's come up from the ranks. He's been, started in an entry-level faculty position, moved up to a department chair, then on to the dean of the College of Social Sciences, and now we're all going to be blended together under the College of Professional Studies. And I find he has this wonderful way about him, and it might be a natural skill, but he seems to he reaches out to people, he connects with people. He really does have what Raven, Pirro, Amato, and Belanger would say is the soft bases of social power. But he's so good. People come away feeling good after an office meeting and for the whole department. So I think he is going to be, if I buy into David Casulo's alpha dog idea, he is probably the good kind of alpha dog, and certainly has every potential to be a transformational leader, and we really need that. These are difficult times for public schools, publicly funded universities, higher education. It's very troublesome right now. Alpha dogs. Well, that one was one that kind of blew me away when I saw that. And I'm not always thought of alpha dogs as being people that you would enjoy being around. And but it does appear that Consuelo thought that to be an alpha dog, you obviously have some authority, but you also have a set of all those other skills. And what I have seen is that when people use the harsher set bases of social power, they're not leaders that people particularly like or respect. Now, and there is a big difference between prestige and power, if that's your only motivation. And I found a really interesting article. If alpha dogs are basically the people that are kind of the leader of the pack, I read an article by Derek Liddell, and it was in Forbes magazine, Why Alpha Dogs Make Poor Leaders for Startups. And it was kind of interesting because he didn't really say this, but he sort of said that people with these strong personalities, kind of overbearing, pushy, aggressive types can sort of hide out in large, he refers to them as established or, trying to remember what he called it, durable organizations. That they can kind of hide out there and get away with it. However, in small groups, especially startups, it doesn't work that way, and people resent it. And he talks about the importance of getting people to want to follow you, and he felt that the people that are prestige-oriented are looking at connecting with people, valuing them. They're willing to give credit to everyone. They are leading the team, but they're team players, and that he felt the dominance-oriented leaders, which would certainly be the people with the harsh social powers of authority, um, legitimate power, coercive and reward power, wouldn't necessarily go that direction. And one of the things I'm having my students in my senior class for organization leadership is to write a paper, and I gave them several topics. One of the topics is, are leaders born or are they made? Do you have this natural set of skills that can be refined? Are you just automatically a born leader, or can you be trained? And I'm a believer that, of course, it wouldn't be an organization leadership education if I didn't believe this, but I'm a believer that you you may have some natural abilities, the ability to not be frightened to talk to people, curiosity, but if it isn't necessarily groomed in the right fashion, you could run into some problems. And I don't get much time for recreational reading, but today my husband had some tests at the hospital, and I had a copy of Mary Trump's Too Much and Never Enough. And I almost read it today, at least a good half of it. What is interesting to me is that I'm not reading it on the basis of any political view, but I'm curious, how does someone become the leader with personality as such? Because he certainly, the word unprecedented is constantly used to describe his manner. And it's really interesting, and you wonder if he hadn't had such a harsh upbringing with very little emotional attachment. I'm wondering if his innate skills might have been cultured in a different way, and he might be a kinder and gentler leader. It's very interesting. I believe there is something to social power, and if people are energetic, enthusiastic as leaders, remind yourself to listen. Listen to the others, value others' opinions, and engage them. I saw a quote today that I thought was really good, and it was credited to President Eisenhower, and it talked about being a leader, and that you lead best when people people do what you want them to do because they want to do it. And I think that's the key to being able to gain people's commitment and to have organizations succeed. Thank you very much. Looks like I ran over my time a little bit, and now I just hope I can load this to YouTube. Thank you very much. Bye now.